All right, traders, welcome back to another market breakdown. Let's get into how the market is setting up for the week ahead. Coming into this week, the markets are still trying to find direction after a pretty mixed close last week. We didn't really see strong continuation in risk. Instead, we saw a bit of hesitation across equities, currencies, and even the commodities into the back end of the week. And that's important because it tells us that positioning right now is still fairly cautious. There isn't really full conviction in the market just yet. And when you get that kind of environment, price tends to be a lot more reactive rather than directional. So straight away, that's something to keep in mind, that it isn't a clean trending market. This is one where sentiment can shift quickly depending on what comes out. A big part of that right now is still interest rate expectations. Markets are constantly repricing what central banks are likely to do next, especially when it comes to the Fed. And even small changes in that outlook and having a knock-on effect across the board. One thing that is important is that the data print can shift expectations, and then you'll see the flow straight through into yields, the dollar and risk assets. And speaking of yields, that's something you really want to keep an eye on this week. We've seen them moving around without a clear trend, and that's feeding directly into the dollar. The USD isn't showing strong, clean direction across all pairs right now, same as last week, and that's why a lot of the FX setups are looking a bit messy. It's not that there aren't opportunities; it's just that you need cleaner confirmation before stepping into the markets. At the same time, we've still got that layer of geopolitical tension in the background. It's not causing panic, but it's enough to keep the market slightly defensive. You can see that in the way safe haven assets are behaving. They're holding firm, but not aggressively pushing higher. That usually tells you that there are still some uncertainty being priced in, even if it's not front and center. Now this week is also quite a data heavy one, particularly for the US dollar. This is where things can change and get interesting. In these kinds of environments, the market can feel slow and choppy until a key release hits. And then we can see the market becoming very volatile and it expands very quickly. So timing becomes just as important as direction. You might have the right bias on a pair or asset, but if you're too early or trading too late, you could be trading into a release without a plan. You can easily get caught out. So this week especially, you want to be very aware of when those high impact events are coming up and how the market is positioned going into them. Another thing to keep in mind is that when the markets lack clear direction, like this, traders tend to overcomplicate things. You start seeing these setups that aren't actually there, or forcing trades because you feel like you need to be in the market, and that's usually where mistakes happen. So for this week, the focus really needs to be on patience and selectivity. You don't need to catch every move. You don't need to be trading every single day. What you want to do is let the market show you its hand, wait for those cleaner conditions, and then you can execute, when your plan and your trading plan is aligning with everything. The opportunities will be there, especially around key data and volatility windows, but only if you're disciplined enough to wait for them. So with that in mind, let's move on to the charts and break down exactly what I'm looking at this week. The geopolitical and all that is pretty similar across the last few weeks, but obviously the charts have changed. Let's get into it and we'll look at it now. So that being said, let's look now into what news we've got coming this week. We've already mentioned that it's quite a news heavy week, and then we'll break down the charts. Just a little side note, don't forget to post your trade of the week in our Discord. You can win a 25k Pro challenge every single week. We are giving one away. All you need to do is post your chart breakdown, a little bit of an explanation as to why you took the trade, and then your execution on TradingView or whatever application you're using. So that being said, let's look into the news for the week. So on Monday, definitely one to look out for. We've got the Fed Chair Powell speaking. This will be one that moves the market quite a bit. On Tuesday, we have got another one at 4. the job opening. That will be another one that will move quite a bit. But then here we've got quite a big meeting on Wednesday. We've got the ADP non-farm employment change, and then we've got the core retail sales. This is going to be one to look out for. Obviously, manage your positions accordingly. Thursday, another day where we've got unemployment claims, and then we've got Friday. Friday is another big one. We've got the average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and then the unemployment rate. I'll be going live on Friday to watch this news event drop, and I'll be trading gold with the community. So that being said, this week, every single day, there's some heavy hitting red folders on the charts. So I would say that just make sure that you are positioned well. Obviously, if you're trading anything to do with the dollar right now, just make sure that on that day you are positioned and your trades are, set with stop loss, etc. Because we know that the market can move very quickly, and if it goes against you, it can cause problems. That being said, looking into the dollar, we are looking at the dollar. The dollar is pushing, in this little range. We can see that the dollar is now forming some very good bullish structure. We've got some good pullbacks, breaking the highs, pullback, breaking the highs. So at the moment we are in a bull trend. I would say that we could potentially see price sort of halt at this level. But for me personally, with everything that's happening in the geopolitical standpoint, I would say that the dollar is going to continue to rise. Looking at gold, gold has been very, we've also been in quite a bit of a consolidation, in this level. That being said, this area here is a big liquidity grab. So we could potentially see that liquidity has been taken. Now we're creating structure. Even this pullback, we didn't break this low here, meaning that we didn't break structure. So right now we'd want to see this high being taken. So now we've looked at gold, looking at the indices. Indices has done exactly what we wanted it to, what we sort of expected. We can see that price has pushed to the downside, as we know that the indices are dropping. So NAS 100 has dropped. I don't see any reason as to why it won't continue to drop, especially with us being in a risk-off environment right now. I would say that it's going to continue to drop until things change. Looking at, let's say, GBP USD, also consolidating quite a bit. I do think that if the dollar breaks that high, we should see this break out of the range as we see the strength in the dollar continue to rise. Euro USD also very similar. I think that once we see the dollar break the high and continue on its bull run, we should see the dollar Euro USD drop. Looking in at the cryptos, we can see that the altcoins are also ranging. So right now, because we're in a risk-off environment, the market doesn't really have any set directions. We are very much chopping and changing. A lot of opportunities for our day traders, but at the moment, for investing wise, there's nothing really there at the moment. We are consolidating quite a bit. We can see like Litecoin, also the same thing, consolidating quite a bit, showing signs of reversal and then consolidating again. So it's very difficult for investors at the moment, but for day traders, there's a lot of opportunity in every realm of the market. Looking at Bitcoin, we saw Bitcoin was on a little bit of a bull run, showing signs that there's some strength coming in, and then we sort of tanked from there. So very interesting to see that. I think that once we see Bitcoin push to new highs and sort of push, in direction, we should see the altcoins start to move as well. But as of right now, I wouldn't say I'm bullish or bearish. Although looking at the technicals, this is a very strong level that has not been taken. As we can see, price has held this level. So I would say that from where it's at now, we shouldn't see the lows being taken. Obviously, anything can happen, but naturally being said, this seems like we've seen the low of Bitcoin in terms of the technical point. XRP is also not looking bad. We've sort of touching on the support level. So we're going to see how that holds in this coming week. And then Cardano as well is also on a support level. So very interesting, outlook this week that I'm going to be watching crypto quite a bit to see if those buys do come in. But that being said, trade smart, guys. Follow your plan. Make sure you're not taking trades just to be in a trade, and everything should be good. Best of luck for the week ahead, and come on into the Discord where we can chat. You can ask for Gareth. I'm always there to chat about trading or answer any questions. Cheers, guys. Hope you have a good one.